In the class right there.
Hold for a minute.
River bottoms. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started again here. We will return to item 3.8, Creek Ridge Development Agreement Discussion. Gordon.
John.
So, just rating the candy bowl for a minute.
So this is a proposed amendment to the Creek Ridge Development Agreement. This is with SLR. No response needed, but this is just a plan to see and give it some thought. They've asked.
This is what they're proposing.
This is what they're proposing, is to reduce the number of units by 270 units
Yes.
from these areas. The current version of the development agreement says they can decide whether it's reduced in A, B, or C. That's what I would give thought to, is where you would like it.
And so tonight you're seeing this for the first time, so our thought is you're gonna see this a few more times. If you have comments now, you can give them to John, or you can wait, we'll bring this back to you in 2 weeks.
Okay, so what's the catch?
Very comment.
Let's just add a 0 to it.
Pick me. Okay, I have a little bit of information here, but I guess, what are they trying to accomplish with the request, that we can understand the whole?
That's all they're proposing on this one, is just reduction in units.
Right.
Yeah, for
Okay.
public consumption, why would any developer come in and ask for a reduction in numbers?
I'm gonna tell you so it's clear. They have other property elsewhere that they would like to have some additional units, but, we've told them that's not gonna happen. They said they're bringing a proposal to reduce units here.
In order to get more units in place.
That's correct. So,
Okay.
I hope that's as clear as, if you need more, we can talk more detail, but what we're looking at is 2 projects are completely separate. If you wanna approve this, you can, and you can do whatever you want with the other project. But this will likely have some impact on the other. So today, we don't want you to vote on it. The other project is going through the planning commission, and we'll get some recommendation to you at some point, and both of them will end up here for you to approve.
Is the one condition contingent upon the other?
No, not in the agreement, but it might not
Then,
find
yes.
its way to a vote unless it's the same.
So I have, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, well, something I've been thinking about since you first brought this up, I can't remember when, a month or so ago. But this is something that they wanted to throw at us. We've since seen kind of a more detailed plan for the other area. Why would they be separate? Why would we not say that we want a detailed plan here too?
We can do that. I think this one,
Right now, this is just units
right,
in areas. I mean, the things that at least I like about they've done with the other plan is some actual planning with some good elements.
Right.
I don't know that just giving up, I mean, because what they're proposing is a 1-for-1 swap, more or less. And what I can ascertain, what we get is a better actual product with the slip road and where another road is and trails and some of those things, which I'll concede those are good things, and it does cost them more money, etc. But it still leaves this hanging in the wind. We still don't have a road plan here, and no question marks. Is that?
so here'd be my thought. This is tonight discussion, and we certainly can bring back to the property owner, asking them to maybe bring back more detailed plan.
They
of
do
this.
like a lot of stuff they're doing there. Can we duplicate some of those?
So we certainly can make that request, but tonight, we'd like you to think about it before we give them any formal response, so we want you to have a good night's sleep to think about it. No, I believe your comment is right on. I'd love to
Just
see
throwing
that
some
level.
ideas.
I'd love to see that level of quality come into this one as well, particularly in the higher density areas. I think that would make a huge difference.
So, and I have one more comment, because if I understood right, really the request is 270 or any one of those areas.
Correct.
I would say that based on my recollection of the various areas in there, and again, how that was originally structured, some of the densities and decreasing again, as it moves south, my preference would be that I don't think that we need to mess necessarily with the two lower areas. I think those were pretty good. Where I would like to see and have a desire to reduce densities would be in area A. And so for me, I would say, okay, we can at least entertain that, but it all has to come from that area.
In my opinion, if they're bringing it to us as two separate items, great, I'm totally okay with reducing, but I will consider it as two separate items, and I will not attach any sort of, quid pro quo on another property unless they bring those both to us at the same time. And so, sure, if they wanna reduce density, I'm not gonna say no to that at all, but if they're wanting something out that's different, it needs to be presented at the same time so that we can see truly what it is we're getting and what the true benefit to the city is.
Okay, and I think what my comment is, we've seen that they can do an extraordinarily good job, because I saw the plan for the other area. I'd love to see that extraordinarily good job go for this area, and I think that's what Jared was alluding to. So we're gonna bring this back to you in 2 weeks, and you'll get a chance to talk about it again. In the meantime, if you have comments, give them to John, and that's the whole presentation.
Okay.
One last thing, just for those that weren't privy at the time, I mean, this map will forever haunt my dreams. It's what paved the way for me to bug all of you guys. Area C is basically built out. Everything south of the gully is single family, right? And C is slightly larger home and gets more dense as it goes to 118th. So area B is still supposed to be single family, but they're gonna be much smaller. And then the bottom side of area A, so you see the dotted line, the bottom side, if I remember correctly, in the actual development agreement is townhomes, and then the two upper portions, say north portions, can be two apartment complexes of 300 units each. On each side, that's the parameter, so.
Yep.
Something to think about.
That's accurate.
All right, item 3.9, we will be continuing to a further meeting. So that brings us to 3.10, our city manager updates. Right.
I kind of alluded to this a minute ago, and probably, here,
Okay, Chief Hoff.
We started our animal services, you well know, what's kind of won't surprise you, our volume is up on the collection of dogs and cats and call volume. And we saw this on the police, I know, for Trace, because I think when we get a call, we're actually there in 5 or 10 minutes versus an hour or so later when the dog or cat's actually not there longer. So we are picking up animals, and we actually have we'll give you a report coming up pretty quick, next few months, but yeah, I think it's gonna be astounding. Our numbers are gonna be quite higher. I also think our registration fees, and chipping and all that fees will be up as well, because we're having such a good response by our residents.
Well, and the other piece of that is that we have dedicated officers in our city all the time who are being proactive and not
Another piece of it too.
reactive. So,
Yeah, Chief, we're talking about animal
I
services.
apologize, I got stuck visiting.
But we're talking about the increase in call volume we're experiencing, in your.
Yes.
And our startup costs were a little bit more than we thought, we saw that in the budget, but we're still in good shape. I tell you, we're still in good shape, but the response is, which actually puts grin in our face, it's not, our volume's up on everything.
Yeah, our startup costs are actually in a really good spot. I don't know that we'll go through the capital outlay, which is a good thing. But we are experiencing a lot more calls, and we looked into that and thought, what's different? Again, it's the same thing with the law enforcement. They see that they have their own system, so they wanna use it.
Okay.
But additional to that is we have 2 patrol officers that are out doing proactive stuff, and as they create those calls, it creates a lot of work product. We did experience 5 dog bites in a matter of about 3 or 4 days, which was a little strange. And the only thing we can kind of correlate that with is, it was a little bit like the Wild Wild West of dogs and cats out here, and they're starting to put some constraints on that and collect the dogs up. So we're hoping that that number will go down, obviously, as our enforcement activity goes up. We've done some very good proactive pieces. We got some leashes and dog poop bags. Can can I say that on TV? Am I gonna get beat? So, and they connect to the dog leashes. And what the officers are doing, that if they see people that are out in our parks with their leashes on their dogs and stuff, that they'll give them one of the little dog poop bags that's shaped like a dog bone and do those.
Give them out at county.
Yeah, so there's they're really, not only are they doing education, they're reinforcing that with some nice things that people can utilize while they're in our parks. So, as far as I'm concerned, we have done a fantastic job. Our folks are amazing. The Charlotte and Debbie are just doing a fantastic job, and we've moved
Great
the
additions
system.
to our team.
Yeah, we moved the system along fast, but we did it very well too.
Yeah, that's kind of want to let you know that you're gonna see a report down the line, but, to me, it's been a success story because, we're collecting more animals, but we're also getting them back to the owners quicker.
Mhm.
And the project controller picked up stray animals and getting them back to the owners quicker, so it's just a great story. It just, as far as percentage wise, just give kudos to what bringing it in-house to whatever this department.
We're up a significant amount of calls, so, and our licensing, I think, as that continues, that will be a great thing. We can start to understand how many animals we actually have in our city, and there's some importance to that as we plan our city out, right? So, we're going to be doing some drives with licensing and vaccination clinics and those kind of things that you'll see coming up. And I think we'll have a much better handle on what animals we have here in the city.
So another thing I wanted to cover is, you tasked me quite some time ago to talk about doing some planning, have the chair come in and do a report. As we talk about that, the planning chair brings, gives us a report, we get out to council to you what's happened and action items that the planning commission met on. For what, I met with the planning commission during their work meeting, and I brought this topic up, and they were very good about saying, you know, what we really need is have the chair come in with some pre-planned questions to ask council, to help them give them direction what you want. I thought, wow, there you go. That's probably the best thing we could do. So we'll be scheduling some time and we'll try to figure out. We're not gonna try to say it's gonna be every quarter or biannual. I think we're gonna put it in there as we see a need. So CRISPR will be putting that list together, and then we'll get him on the agenda for a work meeting and had a good dialogue with you all and give them some direction, get your thoughts on the vision for Herm. You like it?
Good start.
Okay. Gonna talk about a little bit of calendaring, what's up, we have a lot, did I say that right? Say it for me. Okay, thank you. Put things on your radar about meetings coming up, because we have a lot going on, right? And one thing we want to achieve is in November, last year we had our strategy work meeting for a day in here. And I think that worked well. It helped us plan for the budget cycle that was coming right up around the corner. We actually started into that. But we are looking at November 8th, and we selected November 8th, a Friday. We thought that was a good placeholder. One, I know that few of you have Fridays open better than other days of the week. But you really don't have any days open, to be fair. And then that's 3 days after the final election. And so that way, we could actually invite and make sure that the new councilman coming into office first year gets to hear some of that strategy work session.
As long as it's not closed.
It won't be,
Cause
No,
maybe
close. Yes, you're right.
that would have been.
there might be
that
days
would've
that,
been-
we'll invite them both, but at least they'll give them opportunity to hear what you're saying, and maybe, you know, I would think you might, I don't know, have some thoughts on some topics that would like.
Right now, that day looks good, there's one thing I gotta follow up on, but
So that's.
right now, November 8th looks good.
Okay,
I added it to my pencil thing.
You penciled on that, you're in trouble. Don't try whiteout.
I'm wedding to go to, so I don't know what day I'll be leaving, but I'll let you know maybe the next day or so.
anyway, we have some other meetings coming up that we've got them handled, and, we'll get them scheduled, but, I'll be circling around with all of you as we see all these important items. It's gonna be a busy fall, flat out. We need there's a lot going on.
And that's different than the summer, spring, and winter. How?
Right. Which actually, July was actually a light, which is typical in government, because everybody does their vacationing, and this was a good July for us.
Seemed like there was a lot of.
So far, we're good with April 8th. I November 8th, sorry. Okay. This is Tammy's item, road to school. She's been very creative about opening up the road to the new high school, and I'll let her talk to it.
Well, it was actually, Blake thought that it would be a good idea to do something to draw attention to the fact that this road will be open and it will be a better route for students and parents to take when they're driving to and from the school, so that they're not pulling off onto Mountain View corridor. So we originally were just thinking, yeah, we'll do a nice little ribbon cutting and it'll be fun, but then as we involved the Jordan School District and Riverton City, it kind of grew into this little event to celebrate the road opening. So we will have just a small event in the northwest corner of the parking lot at the high school. We'll do a bike rodeo. There will be a touch-a-truck. We'll have just a couple little speaking moments, and then we'll do a ceremonial ribbon cutting to open the road, which will then start a 1.7-mile bike ride led by the police motors from Harriman and from Riverton that will take you down to 134th and loop around and come back. And then after that, they will open that road completely and it will be ready to drive on just in time for the high school is having an open house at 3:30. And then after that, it is their first football game at 7. So it will be a busy day in that neck of the woods because there's also the movie over at the Zebra Stadium. So that neighborhood's gonna get a real awakening as to what it's like to have the school right there.
Real awakening will be Monday morning.
Let's find something else there.
But so we hope that you all can make it. It should be a fun event. The school district is really excited, and if you get a chance to go through the school during that open house, it's a really neat school inside. They have some really unique lighting in there that really adds to kind of the ambiance of the school. It's a really neat school.
I know Darryl Robinson actually chatted with him Monday at that kickoff thing for the study, and he asked that our council and mayor could participate because they had that one thing tonight, the tour, and he knew that we had this, but he asked if maybe we could find a time that we could all go over there and meet with them too, just FYI.
So another thing I have is Jackie's saying we're gonna have the Board of Canvassers August 27th here at 5 o'clock in the main room. And you know those meetings go about 5 minutes long. So if you can,
If we drag it out.
and you get through the election results and make it official, and you'll vote on that, accept the election result, and then we'll be out of here. And then the last thing I have, and I've been wanting to kind of circle with you all, but I have lost time in my days to circle with you on this one. We had an interesting thing come up on the Danzy property, and I'm going to tell you a little history and all that when you talk to what her passions are as well. We got very few opportunities about capturing and retaining some of our history here in Harriman, and I think we've talked about this before, and they're rare at what's left. There's a monument marker up there across the street from the old Danzy farmhouse that I know I met with Richard out there, and the plaque was actually stolen off of it because someone smelled it down and recycled it. But we did have a picture of it. We can redo that, but understanding that rock in that monument was from the old Rock Church that Richard built out here. So there's things, you know, I'm a transplant like a lot of you, but transplanted 30 years ago. So, but I'm still passionate about grabbing everything we can and attaching that history about it, how this evolved to come into this great little community. The other side of the street is the Danzy home, and we have a development ready to go forward there. And this is the part the planning commission did not know and understand. They put some requirements on the builder, Ivy Homes, to improve the whole main street right out there for a few lots. I think it's 30 lots. And they kind of went, as they finish going to develop more deeper, they plan on coming out and finish that road. But they put a requirement on there to be done before they get I think the first building permit in this small zone. When that happened, it took their cost way up here. What they offered to do for us is carve out the old Danzy house and deed that over to the city as long as the Danzy log home that is behind us still. It needs work, but he's gonna do that, and then Wendy, cause there's a wide, right-of-way section there that we get to landscape in the future, and they'll landscape it. So, we'll start turning about, opportunity, what can we make this a nice little, quaint little park, but talk about some history that's happening in our community here with the Danzy home, and let Wendy talk about it, cause she's actually went through the home, cause they asked us and gave us a letter to go forward up, so, cause it's getting vandalized, go ahead.
Destiny's pulling up some photos of the home. The home was one of the original homes in Harriman. It's been remodeled a little bit, had some additions done to it, and been plastered over. This is the log cabin. That was one of the temporary residences while they built this home.
So that log cabin is from
1840s maybe, 1850s.
Yeah, Danzy were one of the first ones out here.
We think the home was around 1850. So while they were constructing the home with rock from Shaggy Peak, they were living in this home. And while they were building this home, they were living in the dirt, like a dirt dugout home. That's the house. And the walls, the original walls inside this home are about 2 feet thick. And they're solid rock. But they are plastered over, so we would have to do some work in restoring it to its original look. But it's in really good condition compared to a lot of the other homes. It's got this great front porch. And we just have an amazing opportunity to do something historical here at some point in the future.
The
So-
original plan was to just knock it down, so this is kind of what we'd like to do.
Well, the funny thing is, the original discussion when we were going through all this development agreement was not to knock it down, it was to kind of carve this off, and they were gonna, as a family, decide what to do with that. I distinctly had those, and remember listening to those conversations, so when they called the other day and said they were tearing this down, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that okay?
Yeah, we panicked, we thought, knock it
surprised.
over, for a waste. But
Ivory owns all this now, so we're just working with Ivory on this.
Yeah.
Good.
What do they want in return?
Nothing, they'll give it to us. We just have to take
No-
care of it.
Say
But
with no
what
commitment
is-
for funds
they wanted to do
to
this
store.
park for us along there and help us create this space, not through the home, but the park and all that. But when you make a wider road, that soon, it took the money away and going, wait a minute, that's not what we expected.
So we don't have to tell them they don't have to widen the road, we just have to tell them they don't have to improve this park, is that the?
That, they don't have to widen the road right now. For that many homes, it's really not needed for the traffic count.
It was on the plan
It was
all
on
along for them to widen it.
At a point, but not, it actually exceeded our.
Once they fell.
our
It's
timeline.
gonna be this is phase 1 of about 4 or 6 phases. It's gonna be about phase 4, somewhere in there, they're gonna have to widen this road out. The next phase is gonna come in out west with Perry Homes soon, and it's gonna all trigger, it's gonna widen within the next 2 years.
See, my recollection was just that, is that there was a commitment to widen that, but it was gonna be triggered as development continued through that area.
And once it failed, right? Triggering the thing once we hit it fail.
It won't fail at this first
We're not-
30 homes.
In all fairness, the planning commission did not know this information. And these are conversations we need to have with council. So they's actually being very protective of their role. The planning commission did a really good job. I mean, I agree with what they did, but they didn't understand that this just probably doesn't stop there.
What's from a fiscal standpoint, remodeling or refurbishing?
No clue. I mean, that's
That's why
something
I
we're
asked
gonna
if
have.
there's any strings attached, if it's just we'll give it to you and you can do
We can
what you
start
two
planning
as you
ahead.
can and budget for it, great, but we
If we
can't
have to-
commit funds.
Tomorrow.
No, I
And
don't.
there's always those funds, we had them for a long time to do the one house, but it's not worth putting money into, is to save the other. This is actually a good solid home.
I'm
I saw
definitely-
that 5 million. I
Can't
saw
spend
it.
it on this.
It's existing.
But there's some
Well, it's
federal
really
money
not
for
an
historical
existing
sites.
park, it's just a piece of property.
I'm definitely in favor
I
of
think
trying
this
to
would be
preserve our
good.
history.
I think it would too.
And
I mean,
you're
we're
gonna
actually
get grants, so.
surprised that
Would
Danzy
they
are,
have done
they've
that?
actually watched it, they don't care.
Well, the nice thing about it is there's all kinds of historical preservation money and things like that we could apply for grants and things like that for this
You're
kind of thing.
absolutely right.
As long as we stop it from getting bulldozed.
That's my
immediate risk
goal
is-
right
that's
now,
phase one.
and then we can figure out
Right.
how to
Now,
handle the rest of
they're
it.
going
Not
to
making old houses.
We can always bulldoze it.
Their plan, because of
Kind of
the
historical
grade,
park.
they need to bulldoze the road or there needs to be a retaining wall. Their plan didn't have retaining wall, their plan had bulldoze, which they thought was cheaper than building the retaining wall. So we'll be talking to Ivory about building this retaining wall that wasn't required if they bulldoze this, but that may be something that they may ask us about. So I'm just telling you, there's going to be a retaining
might be.
wall.
Just sure it definitely just changed, they walked out of that plan commission going, we're done, we're knocking it over. We went, oh, we know, give us some time to talk to council.
I'm supportive of trying to figure out what we can do to save it.
So both sides of the road though, the monument's on the opposite side of the road.
So we
Is this
pick
a
up the
situation
road.
where we're gonna pick up the monument and move it without ruining it? Because you said the
I don't
cement
think
is
that's possible.
way
It-
deep and
well,
it's a problem.
I've never seen about, the description Richard Danza gave me was they put a lot of concrete. And what's shocking to me, knowing a little bit about construction material, so if you have that little background, you know, like concrete work and stuff, go look at the concrete on this rock. It's got good integrity, so apparently they know how to make cement better 50, 60 years going into the
Yes, they
ground.
do.
It blew my mind on how well it is, so we will take every attempt to excavate underneath it, bring whatever crane we
As
can
you said,
and lift it.
it wasn't
And
no
just,
four bag
and
mix.
relocate it over by the house and just
And
preserve that site.
relocate the,
And then we
the
can
log
plat.
cabin up here too. So we'll have a
Nice,
log
yeah.
cabin, this, and the monument. That's our intent.
That would be cool.
We've talked about
But
having
not the
pavilions
And I'd like
that
to
you
add
can
nerve-
rent for
I'd
weather
add a-
sections or.
And another place I'm talking about the history of the rock too, so people when they read it, say this rock is part of that old rock church.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Historical home.
Yeah, I like it.
They offer tours.
A historical park.
So we'll start bringing in some plans in the next few months.
So we'll educate the planning commission where we're at, so they know that this is the part where council gets to make these
But
directions.
I think reiterate for them 100% appreciation for them
Oh, I
to be
totally
sticklers
agree.
on that.
I was actually, we were proud of them, but we felt like they should, if they would've known this, they probably would've paused a little bit, and says, we'll take it to council, see what they have to say, and then bring it back to us. Okay, thank you. Wow,
You said that was your last thing.
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, no redos.
With that, I will accept a motion to move into a closed session.
What purpose?
I'll let them say that on that motion.
I'll make motion temporary recess city council meeting to convene in closed session for the purpose of discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property as provided by UTEM code annotated 4-4-205.
Okay.
Second, Jared?
Aye.
Sherry?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes.
Yes, and walk out of the room.
Technically, it's
He
against,
closed himself out.
What's that?
technically it is against our rules, but you know, whatever. That's why I asked him first, cause I was like, alright.
Okay.